Hello, hello, hello. Happy Labor Day, each and every one of you out there. I'm Waikinya Clanton. I am so excited to be here with you all today as we launch our inaugural session of She's Speaking. She's Speaking is a series hosted by Black Women for Kamala, where we elevate the issues with Black women experts from across the country. These are folks who do this work day in and day out and who can speak uniquely to the issues as they relate to Vice President Kamala Harris and what her agenda looks like for all of us here in America. Today on Labor Day, we set aside time to honor the American labor movement and its contributions and the contributions of its workers to our nation's prosperity and well-being. Labor Day was first celebrated in 1882 in New York City, and it was organized by the Central Labor Union. It became a federal holiday in 1894, and it was signed into law by President Grover Cleveland. The holiday emerged from the labor movement of the late 19th century, and it was a period of significance for worker struggles and reforms. It celebrates the achievements of the American worker in various fields and industries. It marks the official end of summer for many of us here in America, but today is going to mark the beginning of something spectacular. We will gather today to talk about the significance of American work and American workers' role in securing and protecting our democracy. So I am super excited and delighted to actually be bringing you a labor legend today, Ms. Robin Williams. Robin worked as a food and office clerk at the Georgetown Safeway in Washington, D.C. for 13 years, where she was a union member of UFCW Local 400. In 1986, she began her union activism as a safety coordinator and a shop steward for the local. She was a leader in signing up members of UFCW's Active Ballot Club. And in 1995 and 1996, she worked as a special project union representative in the local to help sign up non-members in the right to work state of Virginia. And I know all about that here in Mississippi. Later, she worked with the local organizing team to bring a voice on the job to nursing home workers in Maryland. In 1997, Robin began a full-time organizer and union representative, a career as a full-time organizer and union representative for UFCW Local 400. In 2003, she was a lead coordinator in the Immigrant Workers Freedom Ride, which brought together tens of thousands of immigrant workers and immigrant rights activists in a tour throughout the United States to demand respect for immigrant workers' rights. She was appointed Community Affairs Coordinator at the Strategic Affairs Department of Local 400 in 2004, where she was responsible for developing community and religious allies for organizing, collective bargaining, fighting Walmart, and educating the public about UFCW issues. I actually think that may be the first time I heard about you, Robin. In 2005, she became the Associate Director of the Civil Rights and Community Action Department and was elected International Vice President in February of 2015. As a community leader, she has helped to develop the DC Jobs with Justice Interfaith Workers Coalition and the DC Workers' Rights Board. She serves as an executive vice president of the UFCW Minority Coalition and is a trustee on the board of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. Robin is also a board member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, A. Philip Randolph Institute, and the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference. Robin has received numerous awards and honors for her tireless efforts on behalf of workers and communities. She has been recognized by the AFL-CIO, Washington Metropolitan Central, Labor Council, Jobs with Justice, Coalition of Black Trade Unions, and has received the NAACP Keeper of the Flame Award. Everyone join me in welcoming Robin Williams to the stage. Hey, Robin, how are you? Oh, you're
I am on mute. I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want to interrupt you reading my bio.
It's okay.
That's an old bio, and I keep saying, take that bio off the internet. So,
no, I think it's necessary. People need to know what you've done. So look, I might look, the glare from these glasses caught me a couple of times, but I will tell you, I think one of the most important things about when we create space like this is that we honor your work and your contribution. So it may be old to you, but it's new to us. And so let us have that moment and that time and reflection with you, if you will.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day. Happy Labor Day. For many, it is a day off, but for us, it is a day on. I can tell you that
Always.
for sure. Yeah,
Always.
that is the case, right? Always. So even if
Yeah.
you're off, you're like cooking or you're preparing the house or you're doing something else other than resting. So,
Yeah, well, Labor Day is to honor all the workers here in the United States and for all their hard work. And although it is a holiday for most of us, and it's a federal holiday, we still have workers working, right? So I went into 3 grocery stores today. I would say I'm trying to find healthy foods, but I was finding some snack foods that I eat. I went to 3 grocery stores, and they were packed. Of course, everyone's having cookouts and enjoying Labor Day. But guess what? There were workers there, putting food on the shelves, checking us out, making sure the store is clean, making sure we have produce and meat department. If I got sick today, guess what? I could have gone to the hospital. We still have workers working in the hospitals. We have nurses, we have doctors there, but we also have, folks that could clean rooms. The custodians are there, the food service people, they're still working. So although we get a day off, we always have to remember all the workers, even those that are working during the holidays.
Right. We call those folks essential workers, those folks who are critical to the survival of the rest of us. And so they don't always get to take the time that we get to take. And so I think that's such a beautiful point that you made too, because I think sometimes people like overlook that and they take that for granted. Right. And I think COVID taught us a real serious lesson about not seeing all of us when we think about the workforce and we think about what it takes to function as a society. And so I definitely want to pause and say thank you to the folks who are off, but also to the folks who are on, especially to the folks who are still on.
Right.
On today. So Robin, I know I read your bio, right? To kind of lay the foundation for people to get to know who you are. But I think there's something powerful about hearing it in your own words. And so I actually want to yield the floor to you to see if you have anything you want to share with us about who you are, beyond what's written about you, and talk a little bit about the impact that you've made on the labor movement, because I think it's significant.
Well, thank you again. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you all and everyone that's joining us tonight. It's such a great privilege. Who am I? So I'm just a sister that was born to a minister, a pastor of a church, and a first lady, first mother. And then I had 8 siblings, 7 of them being older than I. So, my dad was a union worker. He was a truck driver, and he had a union. He was pro-union. My older brothers and sisters, they worked for the federal government. They were pro-union, but they had good federal government jobs. My uncle was a baker in Baltimore, Maryland. He belonged to a union. And so I just come from a big union family. My dad used to be a longshoreman in Newport News, Virginia, before I was born, when they did live in Virginia. So I was born into a union family, but I was also born to a father that loved people. And he was born in North Carolina. He was a pastor in North Carolina for many years, and he was a civil rights leader in his own, his own way. He would integrate, the banks and the hospitals and things like that. In North Carolina, he was very bold in talking about, Black folks deserve these high top jobs in banks, industries and things like that. When he moved here in Washington, D.C., where I was birthed, he was the same. So I was birthed that way. I went on to work when I graduated from school, I went to Norfolk State for 2 years. And then I went on to work for the federal government for a short time and for Safeway foods in Georgetown Safeway, where I met a lot of elected officials. We served the White House, we served the Vice President's house, but we had Julia Childs coming through because she had a house in Georgetown. And so I met a lot of celebrities there. I was a union shop steward, and that's how I really started in the labor movement. And so since I've been in the labor movement, just like growing up, my mom and my dad and my older siblings and my younger brother, who is 2 years younger than I, they were all mentors to me. And so I loved learning. My siblings were federal government workers. They talked to me about jobs. My dad, where he was all about really good jobs. We were a middle-class Black family in Northeast DC, living a good life because we had good jobs, right? And we had opportunities. And so I grew up that way. And then when I started working for labor, I met some amazing labor leaders, but also civil rights leaders. I was on the board of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, so I knew Dr. Lowry and Mrs. Lowry. I was on Mrs. Lowry, Evelyn Lowry's board, Jesse Jackson, I knew them all, Dorothy Heights and Black Women's Roundtable with Melanie Campbell, but also some legends in the labor movement like Mr. Bill Lucy, right, that started I Am a Man with the sanitation workers, Elizabeth Powell, the Secretary Treasurer of the postal workers, my boss forever and just passed last Saturday, Mr. Don Cash, who was one of the first Black meat cutters in Washington, D.C. In the 60s. Don Cash became a meat cutter at Giant Supermarket. And even then, when he became a certified meat cutter, the grocery store had him working as a porter in the meat department, cleaning the floors. And it was the union rep that came in and identified him. And who are you? He said, I'm Donald Cash. And they said, you're on our role as a meat cutter, not a cleaning person. And even then in the 60s, after being certified as a meat cutter, they had him cleaning. It was the union rep that made sure that he was doing the job that he was certified and qualified to do. So I basically grew up in the labor movement and the civil rights movement, and just was able to meet some great people. But I also wanted to do well for people that came up behind me, for workers. I started organizing. I love organizing. I love relating to the workers and talking to, especially women, right? Because you can really relate to them. And so, this is who I am. I did a lot of organizing in the South. Even when I worked for my local union here in Maryland, my international union, United Food and Commercial Workers Union, they were asking me to come out in the South and help them in Mississippi and Georgia, and that's how I met Helen Butler out there, Deborah Scott is out there, and even Melanie Campbell is actually Black Women's Roundtable, National Coalition of Black Civic Participation. She's from the South. She's from Florida. And so, did a lot of work in the South. And people used to ask me, how do you get white people to organize with Black people? And this is one thing I learned so much in union organizing, is that when you convince white people that they are being screwed just like Black folks, they get mad. And then they start to organize. Once you convince white people, once you convince a sister, okay, that overturning abortion, Roe versus Wade, once you convince a white woman, a white sister, that was about you, right? They get mad and then they understand better. And so this is what I like to do. This is what I do. I like to bring people and organizations together. And so my contribution to the labor movement is to make sure that we build bridges, right, with the unions and workers, but also with movements, with the LGBT movement, with the civil rights movement, with the workers' rights movement, that NAACP will know what workers' issues are, what Black women would know what LGBT or trans issues are. And so this is, this is something I love doing, even in my retirement. I say I'm working for free now. So this is a little bit of snapshot of who I am.
Well, we love that. We don't love you working for free, but we do appreciate
Hey,
all
don't
of your
worry, I got a good pension.
we appreciate all of your contributions to this movement, and you really led us into something there. You start talking about folks like Melanie Campbell and Mrs. Laurie and Dorothy Hyde and all these amazing women who have played a critical role as well in the labor movement. Can you speak a little bit more about how women have actually gone to shape the labor movement?
Yeah. I say, in every aspect of our lives, women have worked, right? Even if it was in the home, but women have worked. Rosa Parks was a seamstress, and then she was a volunteer secretary for the NAACP. Right, so we are all workers. Our vice president nominee, our president nominee, Vice President presently Kamala Harris. She worked for McDonald's, right, to get through school, and so women and Black women have made a big impact on this country. And so even doing the labor movement, we had Black women in New York and Chicago in industries that were fed up by not having protections on the job, right? By working in dangerous workplaces, that they decided to form and join unions. In the South, even Addie Wyatt from my union, she comes from a meat packing plant. She was the first Black woman on the UFCW executive board. She worked in a meat packing plant, and at that time it was men working in a meat packing plant. So we've always played significant roles in work, but in the society. Making sure that there is equity, not just for Black women, but for us on a whole. Black women have made significant strides. Now, in the labor movement itself, we've always done the work. We may not get the credit for it, but a lot of times you see these organizing plans move forward. My sister wrote that plan. A lot of time I have written organizing plans, and my plan is taken, given to another department, and I'll have to say, I'm retired, to a white man. And then they get money to do a project that I wrote and I can move. But now we have made big strides in the labor movement. My sister, Petey Talley from Ohio, she was the secretary treasurer for the Ohio AFL-CIO, even at odds when some unions, including mine, did not want her to have that role. We have a sister down in St. Louis that was in the CWA. She not only was a leader in her union, but she went on to run for office and political office, and now she's running for a congressional seat. We also have like Yvonne Willer in Los Angeles. She is the first Black woman to run one of the largest central labor councils in the country. And then we have April that's, I can't think of her last name, but April is the Washington State AFL-CIO president. Washington State, I think, is the largest AFL-CIO in the country. April Sims, she is there. We have April Burnett, who is the president of the SEIU, the Service Employees Workers. She's the president, and I think she's the youngest president of any an international union. I mean, a big union, SEIU. We also have Becky Pringle. She's the president of the National Education Association. And then a Jewish woman, American Federation of Teachers. We have Randy over there, Weingard. And she is amazing. And I'm telling you, one of the most fierce labor leaders in this country that I've ever known. And so, Black women, we're everywhere, right? We have Black women like Melanie Campbell, that pushed and pushed and pushed until we had Black women in the White House, where we had a Black woman Supreme Court justice. That was Melanie Campbell and her work. And then we had other sisters that come on, like Siobhan from the National
Council of Negro Women.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have Joe Tega from Win with Black Women. And so we all work together. We all work in coalition. And we all are there for a goal. And that is to always saving this democracy. We're always working for our families. But what the work that Black women do, it's a work that benefits everyone in this country, even those that hate us. And that's the resilience of Black women. We know that we have people that hate us, but because we love freedom so much, right? We will work to even the detriment of our own health sometimes. Sometimes I have to get on Melanie, rest. And it's hard for us to rest. And so, I always say that, God wants us to get rest, but we know there's an eternal rest. And when we leave this earth, we want to make sure that He is pleased with us and what we've done, not just for ourselves and our families, but what we've done for others.
I love that. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that, Robin, because I think it is important to say their names, right? To when we have these spaces and we hold these spaces, that we uplift the voices and the work of other Black women who are doing this work. Because again, if we don't talk about it, no one knows about it. And
no
so
one knows.
No one knows about it. We have to keep elevating it.
I'm missing so many names, so you got to forgive me because there's so many of us doing amazing work. So I'm missing so many names,
but guess what? Their names will be called, right? We're setting the stage for those names to be called. So we don't have to get it. It ain't a one fell swoop because we do so much. It's impossible for us to capture everyone, but we do capture those that we hold closest to us. So thank you for sharing that, Robin. But you pointed to something when you were speaking about acknowledging the work, the role that women play, that we are always working, that there's something that we've all done. And you spoke specifically about Vice President Harris, and you spoke specifically about the job that she assumed when she was in college, right? She worked at McDonald's. I think everyone's heard this at some point in time. But in addition to that, many people also don't know that she actually serves as the chair of the White House Task Force on workers' organization and empowerment, right? And so it's having this kind of be like a full circle moment. You think about someone who's worked in the food services industry, and now she's in the second most powerful position in the world, headed to the first. I'm gonna claim that headed to the first most powerful position in the world. And she has this experience, right? She knows uniquely the encounters that workers have in various industries. And so what were some of the things, like some of the key recommendations that people should know, right, about what she had come out of serving as the head of the chair of that task force and presenting recommendations to the president?
Yeah, let me say that Biden is, I give Biden, I love Joe Biden. I really do. Joe Biden loves people. He really does. He loves this country. And so I am so grateful for his leadership in every position that he's had as a public servant to this country. And we all should give honor to him. He is also probably the most pro-labor president in history ever. We loved some other presidents, Barack Obama, but Joe Biden is the most pro-labor president that we've ever had in this country. And then he has a vice president that is the chair of this task force. And so I'm going into this task force where she worked with the Secretary of Labor and then some heads of other departments of the federal government. What the recommendations that came out of this was to increase private sector workers access to information so they can know that they have a right to organize a union, right, and have dignity on the job. So they really wanted to make sure that private sector workers knew that they had a right to organize. They had a right to a union, right? and have dignity on the job. That's what unions bring, right? They bring dignity on the job. And even when you don't have a union, because of the work that unions have done, it brings you dignity, right? With minimum wage and overtime pay and things like that. Also, federal grant funding that goes into the states. This task force, one of the recommendations that they had a strong job quality standard that if any state will get federal funds to do work, just like coming out the infrastructure bill, that there's some strong labor job protections in that funding, right? In that language. Protect collective bargaining rights, right? Protect collective bargaining. So if you get a union, right? If you win the election, you get a union. That's not the win. The win is that you can sit at the table with the company and then you can bargain a contract, right? They wanted to protect collective bargaining rights. And so this was the main things that came out of this, the recommendation for it. That really helped us to get the infrastructure bill, I think. It really set the standards for the infrastructure deal. If I can talk a little bit about that.
This your time. You can talk about as much as you want to talk about.
Again,
she's speaking, meaning
yeah,
you're speaking on labor, so you can talk about what you want.
so, this bipartisan infrastructure deal that Joe Biden was leading on this. And this is one of the things he talked about when he was running for office. Joe Biden going across this country, being a public servant, and especially in his role as vice president, he knew that we needed some infrastructure in this country, in this amazing USA, and so he was able to do a bipartisan bill. And this is why I wanted Joe Biden to become president, because I knew he could bring sides together for the American people. And the infrastructure bill, it was really done quickly, I would say, to rebuild roads, rails, bridges, and to make sure we had access to, or expand access to, clean drinking water, because we know what happened in Michigan, right, with the water system. And we've always had problems with water systems.
And Mississippi, don't forget Jackson.
Oh, yep, Mississippi at the same, right?
Yeah.
Right at the same time, right? In Mississippi. We even had some problems in Washington, D.C. right after all that, where we had Michigan, Mississippi, and then we had some problems in D.C. with these lead water pipes, right? And so with the infrastructure bill, Joe Biden also said he's going to get rid of all these lead water pipes. Can you believe that we still have this in our infrastructure, right? So that's a big thing that we don't really talk about out of the infrastructure bill. And then the other thing was to ensure that every American had access to high-speed internet, right? Which we take for granted, because you and I have it, sister, right? Most of us on this call, of course, we all have it, right? But we still have some neighborhoods and our kids that now use tablets in school. My sister's an elementary school teacher, and she's like, try to make sure all my students have their computers, right? You teach second grade. And so, but, we still have some places that don't have access to high-speed internet. And so that was another major piece that came out of the infrastructure bill. And so to say that, President Kamala Harris and Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden, they made sure that this country had this good infrastructure, that we were rebuilding what needed to be rebuilt in this country that has been, worn out, right? Our roads, our bridges, we look what happened in Baltimore, with the bridge, and that is being built quickly too. Let me say that, because of the help of the Biden administration. But he realized this, and then he took the opportunity to make sure that out of this bill that they were good union jobs too, right? And so that's what this administration does, right? Yeah. So that's why, I support Vice President Kamala Harris for president, because and not only that, they return good jobs back to the U.S. You know, the ships that we use in cars and things like that, those jobs came back to the US, right? And Joe Biden on picket lines with the UAW, you know, Joe Biden is not, he's not ashamed, right, to be with the union. He's not ashamed to talk about unions, and neither is Kamala Harris. And not to mention my man, right?
Yeah, Walz, right?
Right? Tim Walz, you know, that's my man there. You know, that's my man. You know, the school teacher, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, I really feel that he has a heart like Joe Biden, you know, for the workers and here in the US.
Yeah, one that strengthens and also protects and ensures the futures of American workers, right? I think that's what we're talking about. Ultimately, when we talk about things like the infrastructure bill, or we talk about things like this task force, it's all about protecting the American worker and ensuring American futures. And so, speaking of the future, and where all the progress that we've made as it relates to workers' rights and you know the protections that unions provide, could you speak to what heaven forbid, right, that we have a repeat, right, of the 45th administration? How could the rights of workers change under a Donald Trump, right? Like we're already seeing some remnants of what a Trump presidency could look like, right? With all of these things coming out through Project 2025. Can you speak to the dangers that that type of administration poses for the American worker?
Yeah. First, let me say, we elect we elect we elect people to protect our laws and create laws that protect us, right? And so people need to understand that it has to be beyond your political affiliation, whether you're Republican or Democrat. It has to be beyond personality. It's really about who will represent me the best, whose life and their life experience resembles mine, right? Who understands my issues, who's been in the workplace, right? First, let's get back to common sense, right? And so we elect our president and our vice president to work with Congress to protect laws, to protect us U.S. citizens, and to create laws, right, that protect U.S. citizens. So first, we should say that. And so we know the Kamala Harris. We know her policy agenda. She made it very clear. But do we know Biden's policy? Do we know Trump's policy agenda? Well, he doesn't talk much about it because he already has it in writing. The Heritage Foundation has been working on it for many years, right? It's called Project 2025. That is his policy agenda. Now, just the piece and the workers' rights, because I think it's 920 something pages if you want to read Project 2025. But I encourage everyone to understand Project 2025. Project 2025 and how it will hurt workers. First, it is aimed to gut the federal government. Let's say that. So there's it right there. It's aimed to gut the federal government. That means thousands of federal government jobs gone under the Trump administration. Okay, that is one main thing in Project 2025. Now, when they gut the federal government, that means one, that's work gone right there. That most of them are still union, right? Under the AFGE, right? Union, right? American Federal Government Workers Union, right? Those are union jobs gone. Those are workers gone. Those are agencies that protect us, like the Department of Labor. They want that gone. They want that gutted. They want Department of Education gutted. Housing, all of that, right? And so the other thing is they want states, this state thing, right? This is, you know, this is, you live in Mississippi. This state thing is where Project 2025 has already moved. They want states to have the right to determine overtime pay. Okay. Now we work to protect overtime pay on a federal level. They want to give it to the states to say, oh, we don't want overtime to be over 40 hours a week. We want to calculate it that, you know, you may work 3 weeks and then we'll calculate that you make some
overtime.
overtime. So get rid of your overtime protection. Get rid of anything that says diversity and inclusion, right? So they can hire anybody they want. Your experience or not, they can put you in any position they want to put you in. And then Social Security and Medicare, that right there is in danger. Union rights, they want to gut the National Labor Relations Act, right? So they want to gut that. That is protecting folks from getting protections on the job and able to form and join a union, right? And so when we look at that in itself, and I think I just read that if you start at page 500, it really tells you about the worker protections that are in danger under this Project 2025. And this Project 2025 is dangerous, y'all. Let me tell you, that Project 2025 is pieces that they moved the overturning abortion rights, right? That's Project 2025 . So it hurts.
And that's Mississippi, ground zero.
That's the right to learn, right? If you got Department of Education, one, there's jobs right there. Two, there's union jobs right there. Three, that is them telling us what we can and cannot learn again.
It's building a communist society.
It's building a slavery
society. Yeah.
I'm telling you, this Project 2025 can take us back into slavery. And look, I talk to everybody I can. I don't care if they're Black, white, Jewish, Latino, Asian. I don't care. I don't care if I have people tell me, coming from the NAACP, asking me, how was Biden's speech? Biden did great at the NAACP. Hey, he's at home. He's comfortable. He's with his people, right? And then they say, oh, I like Biden, but I'm a Republican. I'm for the other guy. And, I have a real conversation with them. Not saying, oh, you're wrong, but saying why? If you're not white, straight, rich, male, if you're not white, straight, rich, male, Trump and his incoming administration and Project 2025 is not for you. It's not for you. I don't care if you're a white
period.
I talked to a white man that he told me he and his wife is on Social Security and on Medicare, and he's trying to retire. I said, do you have a pension, sir? He said, yes, I'm going to have my pension. I said, sir.
Not for long.
2025. Stop looking at one news channel and learn what's really happening out here. And he listened to me. And we had a good conversation. So look, this is common sense, you all. This is real common sense. Under the Trump administration and Project 2025, y'all need to know it's real. This thing is real. So the only way we can defeat this is that we must vote. We must vote, and we must vote right. And we must talk to people about voting, and we must mobilize people to get out to vote. I don't care if they look like you, speak like you, if you got to learn sign language, get somebody to talk in sign language. This thing is real. They can turn us back. Anytime they're trying to get rid of our history, they're trying to get rid of us.
Wow. This has been just so amazing, Robin. You have been dynamic. You actually answered the last two questions that I had in that wrap, but it was great because I think you hit home on the points, right? Like why people need to be real careful about the decisions that they're making in this election cycle, and that our obligation, not only to ourselves, but in our country, but to the future, is that we vote, right? And a lot of people don't realize this either, but the right to vote for Black people in this country is not indefinite. No. Okay. It is not indefinite. There are stipulations our right to vote, and the conservative court that we have has all the they are holding all of the cards right now. I think we go up for reauthorization again in 2035 or either 2032. I can't remember the date, but I know that every 25 years in this country, we have to go through reauthorization. And so we are rapidly approaching that. And if folks are not careful, they will concede our right to participate fully in this democracy if we don't lean in and get it done. And so I'm so grateful to you and the millions of working folks here in America who keep our country going.
That's right. Look, let me just say this, sis. And are we out of time? First,
No, we're not out of time. This your time.
Let me talk about citizenship.
Yes, please. Go ahead. Because I know you have been a fierce fighter for immigrants' rights. So
immigrants' rights. So let me talk about citizenship. First, I'm an advocate for immigrants' rights, right? I'm an advocate for everybody's right. I'm a Christian woman, right? But if everybody is a human, and everybody deserves respect and dignity. Okay. God says choose. So that means we got choices out here, y'all. And so, that's my country voice, y'all. So,
I like it though. Keep it.
I know you like it. But you know what? This is the thing, right? They want to control us. And so voting is a part of our citizenship. So when I worked for the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, my sister, Esther Lopez, she started our citizenship program. After that, I started our restorative justice program with folks that were formerly incarcerated, that we were helping them, giving them, making sure that they can get it for free, that we were expunging their records and things like that. Why was that so important to me? It's because voting is part of us participating in this political process. It is our citizenship. It is our rights. If you don't vote, you're basically saying that you're not a citizen of this United States. How can you be eligible to vote and then you don't vote? How dare you people die for us? We must take this thing serious, right? And so all of these pieces of legislation, look, they overturn affirmative rights, right? Massachusetts, what's the Massachusetts Institute?
Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT.
Institute of Technology. I was listening today on some news channel, and because they overturned affirmative action, right? That the attendance of Black and Latino students there, it's at the lowest, right? So now the university is trying to figure out how can they bring them.
But see, I got something to say about that. Because when I worked at the DNC, I worked for Tom Perez, big union guy, big labor guy. But one of the things he says is that you've got to live your values, and so it should not have to be a law for you to do what is right. Right. Yes. And if you were doing it when it was law, and then you conveniently stopped doing it when it became no longer law, then what does it say about you and your values as a person, as an institution that's supposed to carry certain things into the future? You're supposed to care about innovation and bringing the brightest minds together. You are now saying, because someone has told you that you don't have to do it, that these people no longer are bright. You don't get qualified that way, And so
now they really are
issue, right? That's my issue. And then that it reveals so much. It reveals so much of who these people really are. And I also think it makes a point around why we have to continuously support Black institutions, because we shouldn't be second best to anything, right? We breed competitive people. When you couldn't go to MIT, or when you couldn't go to Harvard, when you couldn't go to Yale, we were still producing doctors, lawyers, engineers, technologists. We kept producing these people who were then competitive in this workforce. And so I think it also undergirds what we had to also then come back and value as Black people in this country around where we should be placing our money, because they've already shown us how they feel about us in general. So that's just my one little rant about that affirmative action piece, because it ticks me off every single time.
It does. It makes me so mad. Overturning all this stuff. But you know what? Even when they overturn laws, we as Black people, especially Black women, we figure out a way.
Don't
figure out a way to open that. Even if we got whooped to say, I told you so, right? So we need to understand this. We got a right. We have a right to learn. We have a right to be in that college. We have the right to good quality education. We have a right to good quality teachers, and our teachers have a right to get paid right. right?
Let's say that.
Yes, we have a right to vote. We're going to keep our right to vote because we're going to keep on voting, no matter how many laws you put in Georgia, right? Because now you're mad because we won in 2020 in Georgia. Now you're putting laws in Georgia, but we got some sisters down there that's leading the movement down there that we're going to
ain't playing.
They
They're
are
not playing.
Natasha
They're not playing.
ain't playing with
They're not.
nobody.
She ain't playing with nobody.
She ain't playing with nobody. Deborah and Helen, none of them.
None
They're
of them.
not playing with anybody in Georgia. They're going to make sure. So we got a right to vote. We got a right to govern, right? So Kamala Harris is qualified, right? She got her black job, and her black job gonna be promoted.
And she gonna promote, get her promotion. She gonna get her black.
How about that? So we got a right to govern too, right?
That's right.
We got a right to sit on the Supreme Court, right? We got a right to good work, right? Because we got a right, you know why? Because we are citizens of this United States. We know we ain't never had real equality because this country wasn't set up for real equality for us. But as resilient as we are, we're gonna keep working, right? Because that's what we do.
Because we have to work.
We're gonna keep working. So we're gonna work this election. We're gonna vote early. My closing, I would like to say, I'm asking people, if you have early voting, sisters and brothers on this call, if you have early voting, vote early. Use your right to vote early so that you can vote early and you can continue to mobilize other people to the poll. We have some senior citizens that can't get on this Zoom call, that sometimes they feel left out, right? We got 2 months, sis, right? 2 months, right?
2 months.
We got 2 months to work this thing. Let's knock on some doors. Let's go to some citizens' homes. Let's make sure if they move that their voter registration is updated. They got all the information. We got to be careful because they are taking people off the voting rolls, right? Make sure that, I don't care if you're in the state of Maryland, but if you're in Ohio, you better make sure that you are still on the voting roll. So
well, Texas too. Texas just purged 1 million people. In 3 years, Mississippi purged 70,000 people. And so when you look at and where those purges are taking place, they are majority in our communities. And we've got to become vigilant about that.
And that's the work we got to do now.
That's right.
And that's part of Project 2025. Who will have the right to vote? Who would have the right to citizenship, right? And when I say vote,
but who gets to decide?
That's why when people come out of prison and they've served their time, and I call them returning citizens. We have to name it returning citizens. Citizens mean a lot for this country, right? And so if we're gonna make sure that, and I'm asking anyone that has come here from another country and now you are a citizen registered to vote, you have a right. And you really have we want this your duty. It's your duty.
Obligation, duty, commitment. We can give you a couple of words. It's your black job. We can give you a couple of phrases.
It's your black job,
your black job,
whatever job you want it to be.
All of that.
Thank you.
No, Robin, this has been so great. And you've given me so much. You're going to probably see posts with all type of quotes from you on it because you said, we gonna keep our vote because we gonna keep on voting. And that is what I love. We gonna keep our vote because we gonna keep on voting. And you said we not only have a right to vote, but we have a right to govern and we have a right to good work. And I think those are just profound things that people need to understand. Like, what troubles me when I hear people saying that they supporting folks on the other side is that they are so misguided. Right. And, they want to, for those of us who ride, right, who understand this game and we ride no matter what, they want to make us seem like we should be at fault for doing that. But the reality of it is we know what you don't know. Right? We're in these meetings, we're hearing the things, we're reading the things, we're getting the updates. We know what you don't know. And when we're telling you something, believe you me, it is something to everything that you're seeing happening out here in this world. And so, I think that it's on all of us, right? To make sure that we're not just telling people what to do, but we're telling them why they should do it. We're making the case for them.
I relate all of this to union organizing, but I'm out to church. My daddy was an organizer. I don't even think he knew it.
Yeah.
We could organize people, right? My dad, I couldn't go to the grocery store no, everybody knew my daddy. Everybody from Washington, D.C., Virginia, and then you go to North Carolina where he lives, where he's from. Everybody, Newport News, Virginia, everybody knew my dad, right? And so it's about organizing people. And so when you said people just don't understand, we're in these rooms. And so when I was organizing workers and, and they were like, well, we can't get these white nurses. Well, let me go sit and talk to them, right? Sit and talk to people. So I had a sister that's, and I found out she's my neighbor, a sister that worked out with, she's Asian, but she was also an educator and staunch Republican from Texas, right? And she and I and another sister, we went to lunch. And we started talking, and I talked to her about Project 2025, friends, right? But she was on the other side. I'm gonna tell you, my right hand, this sister, let me tell you something. Girl, I sent her a simple training. The NACP, the staff has broken down Project 2025, and then they had each expert to do a part on Project 2025. You can get it off the NACP website. They did an amazing work on Project 2025. Simple to understand. I sent that to that sis. She and I kept talking. She was telling her husband about it. So her husband says, who's military, and they moved here from Texas. He said, so what, you're liberal now? She said, no, I'm educated now.
That's the word.
No.
I'm not a liberal, but I am educated.
Said,
hello.
No. She said, but no, I'm educated. That's what she said.
I'm educated.
Yeah. And that's what she said. And we voting for Kamala Harris.
And I like how she changed the pronoun. We vote, not you vote. We gonna vote for Kamala.
And this agency, every time she sees me, she tells me what she's learned. She's watching different news channels now. I told her to have a variety. Stop watching one, but
just watch all. If you're gonna watch one, watch all.
Right. And so, and she's talking that stuff, but it's just about spending time with people, right? It don't have to be a hostile environment, right? Let's just spend time. Sometimes it's gonna turn hostile. You got to tell people how they are. Because I had a bar conversation when I was in Vegas, and this this white guy told me he listened to this rapper guy because girl, that I don't know my history. So sometimes you, as a sister, you got to shut it down.
Yeah, you gotta just let them know I'm not the one of the two. So I'm not her. I am not her.
I'm not that one.
I'm not that one.
You gotta be nice until you just can't be nice.
Be sweet to me.
Yeah, but we can bring people along by the Bible says the truth will make you free. So all we have to do is tell them the truth, and it's really common sense. What kind of governorship you want to live under, right? Who's going to govern you? And talking about a person that never had a real job, that's a bully, and and also a coward. Do you want to be under somebody like that, or you want to be under someone that earned their way, earned their way? And we have a presidential nominee and a vice president nominee that earned their way, know what the workplace looks like, know what it is to work hard, to get to the middle class, and then we can bring everyone up. Everyone's going to go up if we're looking out for the people on a whole. If we're looking out for the people, and the Bible says, what you've done to the least of these, oh my, to me, you have done it unto me. Why? I want to live my life like that.
That's right.
So it's really us talking, having these conversations. Well, we must reach people that are not you and I, right? People want to come along, they just don't know where and how. And so that's what we're trying to do, through the NACP, Black Women's Roundtable, Black Women's Roundtable, a National Council for Negro Women, Women with Black Women, Black Women for Kamala Harris, So it's so many entities that we're involved in, but we have to reach those that cannot reach us.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely right. Robin, you have been amazing. We actually have 3 questions in the chat, so I want to give the people some time to ask you questions. We have quite a few about Project 2025. We'll get to that, y'all. We're not going to cover it in this session, but we got more information to come on that. One of the questions that we have here says, what advice do you have to mobilize, particularly entrepreneurs, right, to vote, So What
But
advice do you have?
let me quickly address that. Under the Biden administrations, we've had more people, especially through COVID, right? A hard time for all of us. We had more people to put in applications for businesses. So we have more people that are entrepreneurs. And so entrepreneurs, let me say this to you. You also must understand who is going to be the best government for what you need, for what you need as a minority entrepreneur. That's how you vote, right? And so, as entrepreneurs, I mean, we have entrepreneurs in all of our spaces. NAACP, especially Black Women's Roundtable, most of them most of us are, are entrepreneurs. You must vote the persons in that has your best interests at heart. You are trying to get your business up. You're trying to sustain your business. You're trying to be successful. Vote for the person or the persons, the better government that is going to support you and your plight to be the best entrepreneur you can be. But under the Biden administration, we have had more businesses apply for business license, LLCs, and things like that. That's the answer I will give to you.
Thank you so much, Robin. And look, for everyone who's asking about Project 2025 resources, what's the difference between Project 2025 and Agenda 47? They kissing cousins, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But we're gonna do some information sessions on that specific thing in October for Voter Education Awareness Month. So y'all we gonna share some resources. Robin has given us some resources from the NAACP. We will also share those in the group, in the Black Women for Kamala group as well, and also across our social medias in terms of resources that you can get in other places. Like, there are so many organizations.
AFL-CIO, if you want to talk about worker rights under Project 2025, go to the AFL-CIO and you can see it clearly there.
See, that's why we have her here. That's why she's speaking today on labor. Robin Williams, y'all. Robin, you've been absolutely amazing. Thank you for taking time out of your holiday and your retirement to spend a little time with us trying to do this good work. Hopefully one day we can join you in the enjoyments of life, right? To get to see the fruits of your labor come fruition, full
That's
circle.
right.
Yeah, that's right.
Want that, make sure you vote for the right administration that's going to protect your Social Security, your pension, and your Medicare.
Okay. All of the things in which she said, and also the administration that's going to protect the workers, who ensure that you can get the healthcare you need, the food you need, and all the other essentials that we need as well. Robin, you have been amazing. Hold on. I look like they keep coming with more questions. Hold on. Oh, no, they don't. Those just them telling you where you can stay connected to the work of Black Women for Kamala. Robin, if you want, tell them how they can stay connected to you, because I think that's important too. You are just a well of knowledge. And so we want to make sure folks stay connected to everything that you have going on as well.
Yes, well, you can reach out to Black Women's Roundtable of Maryland. You can reach the NAACP. I'm still on the National Board of Directors. I am the National Labor Chair. You can email me at robinw327@gmail.com. That's robinw327@gmail.com. You can catch me on Facebook and on Instagram, just simply Robin Williams.
Okay. Thank you, Robin. And folks said, thank you for sharing this amazing information. Y'all, this has been She Speaking. Thank you again to our inaugural speaker on the She Speaker series that'll be happening now through November. We're going to get it across the line, y'all. So thank y'all so much. Thank you, Robin. Have a beautiful day.
See you at the polls.
See you at the polls.